Greetings everybody in this festive, happy period. I thought I'd come down today. I need to get the Tractiva moved, and I've also convinced myself using some form of man logic that I need to weigh it. No, I do need to weigh it. I need to know what the starting point is on this car. I imagine it's going to be high. It's going to be a heavy car, so we need to know how much weight I'm going to try and take out of it. And I did actually have an idea. You see, I thought I should also try test driving the car. Not far, obviously it's not road legal, just up and down the yard, just to make sure that it is working enough before we go ripping it to pieces. Obviously I've got it running now, but I can't do that. There's two reasons why I can't do that. Firstly, behind this wheel here is a ram, known as an active ram, and it has started leaking, which is fantastic. For those who don't know and are up to speed on this, this is a 1990 something Citroen Xantia Activa. The Activa was a special, it wasn't a limited edition model, it was a production model, a normal production model, but it was a version of the Xantia that was unlike any of the others. A lot of Xantias have computer controlled suspension, it's called Tractiva 2 on those. This has that too, but this has an extension on the end of it. This has an extra brain and extra capability, and that capability is that it has active anti-roll bars. It can extend or retract its anti-roll bars basically on one side of the car on opposing corners, meaning it can counter its body roll. So it doesn't have active suspension as such, but it does have active anti-roll. It reacts to whatever's going on. There's a ram on this side, there's a ram on that side. This ram here is leaking, so that's not good because that green blood is the lifeblood of the entire car. Steering, brakes, suspension, it all runs off that, and I don't want to kill it. I don't want to get green blood all over the brakes. I just think, no, let's not muck about. My joke was going to be that I was going to go herring out the workshop and ragging around the estate and you could see it cornering without leaning, despite the fact it's smashed up. That won't work now, because if that's leaking fluid, there's a chance that it will lean, because that's not working properly, so there's no point prattling around with it. The other reason I can't do this, you will note the pink bowl under the front there. That's not just for decoration, it has a purpose. The pink bowl is there because I noted the car didn't have any coolant in it, or even any water in it. So I started putting water in the header tank like this. It's a perfectly normal thing to do, although normally you'd put some antifreeze in with it, but because I'm not going to be keeping this engine in the car, it's all going to come apart again soon, there's no point wasting the coolant. So there we go. Oh, it appears we have a leak. Why do we have a leak? I don't need to climb under the car to show you. Yeah, the top of the radiator is broken off. Probably something to do with the sudden C-Max. So, and also there's a broken bulb there, that's good. But I am just going to try and nip it up and down the yard just to make sure brakes work, controls work, everything like that. It was, but it's been parked up a long time, so make sure there's nothing it needs doing while it's in bits, after it stops leaking, that is. The other thing I need to do is lower the suspension so that it clears the ramp, because there's a chance it won't. And hopefully it starts. Yes! Oh, so we should be going down. Right, that should be all the way. Oh, the wipers. It's got a triangle of doom. It doesn't shoot up and down as quickly as a BX does. Is that down yet? Yeah. Right. Oh, the brakes are rusty. Is that going to clear? I'm not sure that could get much closer. Here we go. Oh, the brakes are rusty and the ABS is going nuts. I can't go out on the road because obviously not very legal, but just making sure that it's, yeah, the anti-dive doesn't work in this. Look, it just doesn't work in Xantias. Oh, something's rubbing. Well, it's feeling okay. I mean, you can't really tell, as I say, you can't really get a feel for what an Activa does. Way better over a speed bump than a C6. But, yeah, it's kind of, it's leaning. Yeah, the front end's not working. It's still quite a smooth cut. You know, is this smoother than a C6? I think it might be. Good turning circle. That's going to help me at Goodwood, isn't it? This is the only time I'm going to be driving this thing around. Oh. We had turbo boost. See, there is something it does that's odd. I don't know if it'll do it on this speed bump. Basically, when you go over a bump and the bump isn't hitting the front wheel square, so you're kind of going over it like this because it's at an angle like this, it doesn't rock and roll very much because you've got no steering lock on. The car knows you're not cornering, so if it encounters any situation that might, what's that noise? But yeah, if it encounters a situation where it would normally be shaken like that, it doesn't do it, which is quite nifty. Actually, there's a way I can demonstrate that. Yeah, that should do it. See, if you see what the car's done, the suspension on this side is compressed. On this side it's normal. Completely normal ride height. The reason it's done that is because the ram that's connected to the anti-roll bar has compressed. It's allowed itself to compress down because it doesn't need to be rigid. If you had a car with a normal mechanical anti-roll bar setup, the car would still, even if the suspension was soft, it would still be leaning to one side a little bit because this side would have lifted it up. But in the Activa, it can regulate it. It knows it's not cornering, so it doesn't need to make that anti-roll bar stiff. So the anti-roll bar at the moment isn't really there. And that means you have a car that can sit completely level, like that. Quite a nifty trick. There you go. The car is totally level. The front is at normal ride height. The back is at normal ride height. It's just that wheel's been jacked up into the arch. Completely level. Ground isn't completely level. Look. Looks like it's parked on flat ground. Only it's not. That will be very useful on big, wide, smooth racetracks. So yeah, there's the weight we're coming out with. Not a lot of fuel in it, not a lot of coolant in it. What a podger. So that means that 30.9% of the weight is on the front corner, on the front left, and 31% on the right, which is odd. Well, it's not odd actually. You'd think it was odd because some of the right hand side is missing. But of course the engine sits, why am I zoomed in so much? The engine is kind of on that side and the gearbox is on this side, so it is, that does make sense. And you're talking 2 kilos different by the look of it. The back end, yeah, a lot lighter on the rear left than the rear right. Quite a big difference there. I can't think why that is. Was there something in the boot? That'd be silly, wouldn't it? There's a seat in the boot. That's not very heavy, and that's more on the left than the right, so. I mean, the beauty of it being on high suspension is that the suspension's rock solid, so all these figures are pretty much spot on, although slamming the boot has just changed everything. Of course, it's that sensitive. So what about the next screen? So it's 62/38 front to rear bias, that's quite a lot. Front left, rear right, front right, rear left. Very much nearly the same. That could be because of the active side of things, because the obviously the active rams will keep the car level and balanced, so they will actually help that. It might be that a normal Xantia would be worse, I don't know, we'll have to weigh it, but oh, there's a lot of weight to lose in this, isn't there? Right, well that's pretty much it. That's everything I needed to check on this before it gets taken apart, other than making sure some of the bits and bobs inside work if I am to sell off things like the sunroof, the windows, the seats, blah blah blah. Although they do work because I've just been going backwards and forwards in them for fun. But I've checked the weight. That's, well, it's not fine, the weight's bad, but it's recorded. So now I've got to try and figure out how to pull 429 kilograms out of that. That's very heavy, isn't it? Well, yeah, that's about it. So the work can commence. Next time you see this car, it will hopefully start at well, it's stripped down, having things removed from it. Not everything will be removed from it, because there's some things that are pointless to remove from it, like for example that rear light. It needs that, so there's no point taking that out. But other things can come off the wheels. We obviously need to get some bigger, wider ones which are lighter as well. Things like the rear wiper, that rear window, don't need it to be glass. That can just be a bit of plastic riveted in. A bit of perspex, same with that. Same with these, in fairness. Sunroof, that can come out. All sorts, spare wheel under there, don't need that anymore. That's a lot of weight. But it is what I thought it would be. I think that is actually, I will find out whatever the book figure is on a Xantia Activa Turbo. I'm going to put it on the screen here, in this box. It's good, isn't it? That's how much the book figure is. Obviously this one's missing a headlight, but it has got a seat. So it's not worth arguing about. Right, I'm going to go home and have Christmas.